I had to keep up with all of that, because if I stopped or hesitated for even a second, they would rip the suit off of me, and then things would get real messy. There was always a new battle every day. It didn't matter if it was against other students, teachers, or even the principal. They were all ready to tear me apart at any moment. That's why I always had to be prepared. I mean, really prepared. It was always hard to explain to people how I felt inside of that suit. Some said I looked cool, while others thought it was disgusting. But no one knew what it was like until I took it off. The truth is that when I wore that suit, I couldn't feel anything anymore. It was just this big, heavy piece of metal dragging me down wherever I went. I couldn't walk freely, talk normally, or even blink without someone making fun of me. So when I took it off, that's when my real problems started. Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't the crazy part of the story. You see, under this suit, there's nothing. Nothing at all. No shirt, no pants, not even shoes. That's right. I walked around all day long with nothing on underneath my suit. Trust me, after a while it gets pretty uncomfortable. But that's exactly what they wanted. When I first started middle school, I was just another goofy kid. I ate lunch with my friends, and I remember how cold it was that day. So when we went outside, I took off my jacket and put it on one of my friends because she was freezing. That's when these kids came up to me and said, "Hey, that jacket looks pretty cool. Can we take a look?" I let them try it on just for a few seconds, but then they said, "Nah, it's too tight. We don't want it." They ripped it off of her and threw it into the garbage can. Then they said to me, "Hey, why don't you wear that jacket? It might look better on you." I was like, "What? You serious? It's in the garbage can?" And they said, "Yeah, so what? Just pull it out and wear it." So I did. It's how I became the garbage can kid. Every time I tried to take the jacket off, they would say, "Hey, don't take that off. We gave it to you." And they were right. I mean, technically they did give it to me, so I couldn't take it off. When I tried to wash it, they said, "Hey, you stink. Don't wash that jacket. It smells like us." And they were right again. I mean, it did smell like them. Its taste, I must have smelled like them too. Because from that day on, none of the jackets I ever owned smelled like me again. This continued until one day they said, "You know what? This jacket doesn't smell good anymore. Let's turn you into the garbage can kid." They told the whole school that I lived in a garbage can, which wasn't true. I lived in a perfectly normal house with a perfectly normal family. But somehow they made it sound like I actually lived inside of a garbage can. By the end of the day, everyone believed that I lived inside a garbage can, so that's what I did. I kept the jacket on all night and slept right next to the garbage cans outside. The next day when I showed up to school with the jacket still on, they asked me how sleeping in a garbage can was, and I played along. From that day on, I was officially the garbage can kid. I didn't mind it though. I mean, it was kind of cool. Got to skip gym class and I didn't have to clean myself. Also, sometimes I got to sleep over at my friends' houses, and I never had to take a bath. It was awesome. But then one day when I went to school, some kid said, "Hey, aren't you supposed to live in a garbage can?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And they said, "Well, we think it's time for an upgrade." And before I could react, they grabbed me and threw me straight into the nearest garbage can. That's when the school bell rang, and all the other students walked past me without even noticing that I was in there. I was like, "Oh my God, they actually did it. Now I have to live in here." But then I thought about it for a bit longer and realized that this could be my chance to get back at them. The next day, I showed up to school wearing the exact same clothes that I was wearing the day before, which wasn't a problem because I hadn't taken those clothes off either. When they saw me, they were like, "No way, dude. You actually slept in the garbage can." And I was like, "Yeah, I did." They said, "That's disgusting. Why don't you come over to my place? We'll give you a proper bed." But I knew what they were up to, so I refused. I just kept telling them that I preferred living in a garbage can, even though it wasn't true. I was just trying to get back at them for making my life miserable. One day they got so mad at me for not listening that they all started beating me up right in the middle of the schoolyard. They beat me so badly that the next day I couldn't even show up to school. My mom picked me up from home and drove me to school herself, but when she got out of the car, everyone stared at her in shock. She was only wearing a black dress and nothing else. All the kids and even the teachers started whispering and making fun of her. She was furious, but she stayed calm and just asked me, "Why are they staring at me?" I was like, well, everyone thinks you're crazy because you're not wearing any clothes." And then she said, "Oh, so I'm crazy, huh? Well, then let's make them pay for it." She walked up to the principal's office and knocked on the door. He opened it and was shocked to see her standing there in nothing but a black dress. She asked him, "Can I talk to someone about what happened to my son yesterday?" He was like, Sure." She sat down in his chair and said, "Would you mind getting out of here, please?" He was like, "What? Why?" And she said, "Just go." So he did. Then she called all of the parents of the kids that beat me up and invited them over for a chat. She told them all that they raised some fine young men who bullied my son, and then she said, "You know what? I think it's time for a change." She told them that she was going to homeschool me from now on, which meant that they would never get to see their kids again. The parents were so angry, but they couldn't do anything because she was right. I was their only child, and if she pulled me out of school, then they wouldn't be able to socialize with anyone anymore. After that, she took me out of school and enrolled me in an online academy. I didn't have to see any of those bullies ever again. But the most surprising thing happened next. After I finished middle school, I wanted to go back to regular high school. I asked my mom if I could, but she said absolutely not. "I will never allow you to go back to that school." I was like, "But why? I've already finished middle school there and I want to go back to see my old friends." And she said, "No, they're not your friends. They're your enemies. And as your mother, I will never allow you to go back to them." And you know what? She was right. Those weren't my real friends. I never had any real friends. They were all just pretending to be my friends to get something out of me. That's why I'm asking you, do you have any real friends? Let me know in the comments. I honestly thought that after middle school I would be able to forget about all of that. But I was wrong. During high school, it just kept happening over and over again. Different kids, same bullying. But I didn't tell anyone because I was ashamed. Ashamed of what? Ashamed of being bullied. Ashamed of being a coward. Ashamed of being nothing. I barely graduated high school, and when I did, no one showed up to my graduation party. Not even my mom. I was alone. I mean, technically, I had my girlfriend, but she was only there because she felt sorry for me. She was never really into me. The day I graduated, I went straight to the mall, bought a new black suit, and never took it off, at least not until today. Some might say it's disgusting to walk around with nothing underneath your clothes, but they don't understand. They don't understand what it's like to be naked inside a suit. Some might call me crazy, but they don't understand that I'm not the crazy one. I'm the sane one in a world full of insane people. If you're wondering why I'm sharing this with you, the answer is simple. I just needed to get it off of my chest. For so many years, I've been carrying this burden alone. But now I shared it with you and I feel a little better already. Thank you for listening to my story. Now I'm going to take a shower. See you next time.